Forget the castles, forget the tournaments, and please, forget the suits of shining armor. If you lived in medieval Europe, the odds are overwhelming that you wouldn't be a knight or a noble, but a peasant, and home for you would not be a castle at all, but a cottage. A smoky, cramped, drafty little box that, despite its flaws, was the center of your world. So what did that home actually look like? Most peasant cottages were built with the simplest of materials, walls made of wattle and daub, essentially sticks plastered with mud, straw, and whatever else could be stuffed in. The roof. Thatched with bundles of straw, which looked charming from a distance but leaked like a sieve when it rained. And the floor was not wood, not stone, but just dirt, packed earth, occasionally strewn with rushes or straw to soak up the mess. If you had a few coins or a very generous lord, you might improve it with planks, but for most it was earth underfoot, muddy in winter, dusty in summer, and always shared with insects. Now, inside this humble box, space was at a premium. Forget separate bedrooms, studies, or a cozy little pantry. Most peasant houses were just 1 or 2 rooms, one for living, cooking, working, and sleeping, often all at once. The second, if you were lucky, might be for storage or for keeping animals indoors at night. Yes, you heard that right. In winter, you might share your home with a cow, a goat, or a few chickens. Not exactly glamorous, but the animal's body heat was a kind of medieval central heating. And then there was the fire. Almost every cottage had a hearth, but chimneys were rare luxuries. So where did the smoke go? Nowhere. It lingered, hanging under the thatch, seeping out through the roof, and coating everything, clothes, lungs, and eyeballs, in a perpetual haze. Medieval peasants were, in a sense, cold-smoked like ham from the day they were born. If you wonder why chronic coughs and lung problems were common, now you know. Furniture was sparse and usually homemade. A rough table and benches might serve as both dining room and workbench. Beds, if they existed, were frames stuffed with straw or reeds, shared by the whole family. Privacy was unheard of. You, your spouse, your children, and possibly the animals, all lived cheek by jowl. Even the most intimate moments of life, from childbirth to death, happened in that same smoky, crowded space. Children weren't exempt from this world. From a very early age, they had chores, fetching water, helping with animals, gathering firewood. Their toys, if any, were simple: sticks, clay figures, maybe a ball of rags. But they grew up immersed in the rhythm of the household, learning to work as soon as they could walk. And yet, amid all this hardship, the peasant home was not just a place of suffering. It was also a place of warmth, family, and community. The hearth fire, smoky though it was, meant warmth in winter. The thatched roof, leaky though it might be, meant shelter from the wind. And that one-room cottage was where laughter, stories, and song filled the evenings. Step outside, and you'd find the cottage nestled among others, clustered around a church, a green, or a muddy track. Privacy didn't really exist. Your neighbors knew what you were up to, and you knew their business in turn. Gossip and camaraderie were the lifeblood of the village. If your roof caved in or your wall needed patching, chances were someone would lend a hand, partly out of kindness and partly because they'd expect the same in return. So, while the peasant cottage might strike us today as miserable, it was, in its own way, functional. It kept out the wolves, kept in the warmth, and kept families together. Life inside was smoky, cramped, and often harsh, but it was also resilient, communal, and deeply human. So next time you picture the Middle Ages, don't just imagine stone castles and glittering banquets. Spare a thought for the millions who lived their whole lives in a one-room hut, who made do with wattle walls and thatched roofs, and who, despite everything, found ways to make that smoky little cottage feel like home.